especie amazona.
En la herrería hay elementos
Está
básicos.
pasado de
Hay
trabajo.
acción, pero no hay violencia.
Welcome to another chapter of Equine Code. I am Santiago Tobon, veterinarian and zootechnician. Today, we will discuss, as always, topics that will help us improve the well-being of the horse, the rider, and of equine culture as a whole. Biosecurity consists of a series of measures implemented in a given location or production unit with the purpose of blocking the entry and transmission of diseases and disease-causing agents to said production unit, thus protecting the animals and also protecting the people taking care of these animals. In a working horse farm, many biosecurity norms must be put into practice. On today's show, we will get acquainted with some. Also, we will talk with a stable groom who has been doing his work for over 30 years. He told us his story and shared with us some of the daily tasks of horse management that he performs. Join us on this chapter of Equine Code. Biosecurity is a big word that many horse owners or people who work with horses don't fully understand. Nowadays, everyone that works with horses or who has a chance to, we also must become aware of the threats or risks that can exist when we approach horses, when we feed them, or simply walk them to a trailer for transportation. There are some simple things that everyone can do to improve biosecurity inside and outside of their establishments, protecting both the animal as well as the person in charge. Jaime Taborda Galeano is a teacher and knows about equine language. He has been involved with horses since he was 8 years old. He spoke to us about some rules to keep in mind with regards to biosecurity and some of the risks involved.
Biosecurity is a word that we can understand better if we split it in two. Bio, life. Security refers to all of the activities that we need to perform as protocols so as to not incur risks with the equipment we use in the stables or with the horses because they are constantly at risk with us. We are at risk with them. Horses run risks being among horses, and horses run risks with other species that are usually found in the stables. The most common risks facing an operator or whoever is handling the horse is aggression from him towards the horse or from the horse towards him because we don't know how to approach each other. Horses can bite, corner the operator, equipment can be misused. You could have an accident with a needle, with the shredder that we use to chop up the forage, the way we tie down the horse. There are a myriad risky situations that are common, but the risk can be mitigated through knowledge.
Jaime Taborda will now tell us about the locations inside a horse farm where biosecurity norms should be implemented.
Continuity is very important in this line of work, and if you put the worker at risk, you can risk their job stability and continuity could be broken. You could say that you have to be careful practically everywhere, but some instances stand out. The moment when a horse is being loaded or unloaded on a trailer is a risky occasion for the horse as well as for the handler. The place where we have the shredder, there is a high-speed engine, there are sharp blades. We have to wear appropriate gear, and we also have to be very vigilant and careful in this type of environment. The stock is also a very special place where many activities are performed, and it's also a very risky place for the horse, as well as for the person standing near it. In the stables, we need to approach the horse carefully when we're going to shoe him or saddle him. Any of those activities have to be performed with a mind to risk reduction.
Entering the stalls.
You have to keep something in mind when you deal with horses inside of their stall. It's the horse's own space, and you should try not to enter it too often. You should enter only when needed to clean out manure or supply feed if the trough is inside the stall. But you have to talk to the horse. Let him know you're coming. When the horse is there, you have to keep your distance. If you have to touch him or take him out, you have to let him know and pet him while keeping your left hand extended. In case the horse gets upset, I can get out of the situation and the risk is lowered. It's very important that when we fetch the the mares, the tack must be thoroughly checked for quality. The idea is not to capture the horse per se, but to invite him to come out and get the procedure done. Make sure to approach a horse head on, trying to stay more on the left side than the right side. Once you've managed this, try to get the animal's attention through your voice. Don't approach in silence. That's key. Talking to the horse as you approach him helps him recognize the voice as friendly, and the animal will accept you more easily. It's easy to tell apart an animal that refuses to be handled because they've been abused. When the handler comes in, she will turn her back on the handler. When the animal has been handled properly, the first thing the animal does is accept the halter. In this case, the horse accepted the halter. That speaks well of its handling. You have to make sure that the door is wide open so that there won't be any accidents. You put the door up against the wall to make sure the space is large enough. The handler should be in front or on the side, depending on the horse. In that way, we can take the animal to get whatever procedure done. When the horse returns to its stall, it's important to have permanent control of the horse. Go in first so as to invite her to return so that the animal does it securely. The door must be kept open so that there are no impacts against the wall. It's important that when you take off the headstall, that it's done in a calm manner. Some horses like to run after you release them, and that is not appropriate. You have to continuously talk to the horse and let her go in a loving manner so that the animal feels we're still there.
In the previous segment with Jaime Taborda, we learned about biosecurity and how we should approach going into horse stables. Now, let's look at some of the precautions that need to be taken when it comes to time to lead a horse towards a trailer for transportation, and some precautions for taking the horse to the stock. Transportation.
When it comes time to load a horse into a trailer, it's very important to keep in mind what kind of training it has. The horse needs to know the truck, the sounds of the engine, the color of the truck. The horse must be led on the left side. That tends to be the friendlier side of the horse when we're leading him. Keep in mind that the head of the horse must be facing opposite the direction of traffic, so that the animal does not get frightened when it's traveling. Keep in mind that the lasso that's tied to the halter must be secure and of high quality. It must not only be resistant, but also soft so as to not scrape the horse. Keep in mind that when the horse is being loaded onto the trailer, the horse won't behave the same way as if we were out on the field. You have to let the horse think for himself. Go slowly. Let the horse smell the floor and get acquainted with the area. As he enters, make sure to lock the door securely behind him. Make sure to pause along the way to let the horse see what is happening. And whenever you go into the trailer, let the horse know that you're approaching. Voice is very important. Don't touch him suddenly. Talk to him first. Approach from the side. Never approach from behind, and make sure the horse is aware of your presence.
Stocks.
Whenever we use a stock, we have to always make sure that it's in good working condition before using it. That will guarantee us that when the horse arrives in the stock, it won't be able to escape. There can't be any loose wires, nor any dangling elements that could cause an injury. You have to make sure the hinges work well, opening and closing. Make sure it's well adjusted. Also, there are some colors that can help to put the horse at ease. These might be light blues, greens, and whites. Never use bright reds or black. We must remember that the color red can induce anxiety in horses, and that black induces fear. Being locked in a cage, painted a color that induces fear can lead to problems. Before performing procedures in the stock, we must verify that it's secure, that everything works, to head off situations that increase the level of risk. The horse handler must enter with a firm hand, leading the horse on the left side. The door must be left open. That way, you make sure he sees it first. You make sure to hold down the horse with the lasso. You close the door, and then you come back and close the rear door. The horse must not be left alone. They must always be accompanied with someone the horse knows, so you can talk to him, calm him down, pat him down, and caress him. It's very important to do that when you're performing this type of procedure.
In previous segments, we learned some precautions to take when handling horses in their stalls or in the stocks. We also learned the proper way to lead a horse into a trailer for transport. Mr. Taborda also gave us some safety recommendations for the area where the forage is shredded. Forage shredder.
In the area around the forage shredder, we must closely inspect the electrical connections, make sure the blades are sharp, check that bolts and screws are tight, and make sure that the machine is lubricated. We must always maintain a proper distance between the operator's body and the equipment. You have to use safety equipment, earmuffs, safety glasses, gloves, all of the gear necessary to guarantee operator safety. It's important to keep in mind that security equipment will vary depending on the materials or tools being used. In some cases, we use goggles, gloves, earmuffs, and an apron, as when we're using the forage shredder. Every piece of equipment has its own safety requirements. In this case, since the machine doesn't throw debris at the eyes, you don't have to use goggles. It is important to use gloves because of the friction between the grass and the operator, and also because of the risks of working with sharp blades and moving metal pieces. The motor and the machine must be kept at a distance to avoid risks. The body must be kept at a distance that will allow the operator to work, but that won't be too close to fast-moving equipment, since the parts of the machine spin and can cause injuries. There is casing that protects the flywheel. The casing is in the shape of a drum, which helps to make this part of the machine very safe and helps to reduce risks in case the operator gets too close.
Jaime Taborda also highlighted the importance of prevention in order to avoid future accidents. And he also told us that no matter how tame a horse may be, there will always be risks in handling it.
It's very important to remember that the areas we are discussing here are not the only places that offer risk. There are many situations that are risky when dealing with horses, like when you're riding the horse or when you're saddling it or when you're performing any type of activity. In each one of those situations, prevention is the solution to many situations that can complicate all aspects of dealing with horses. I would also like to add that even if the horse is very tame, it doesn't mean that there is no risk. Letting your guard down when dealing with horses can be a serious mistake. Horses are jumpy flight animals, and that horse that seems peaceful, tame, and noble could also remember his natural conditioning and can conceivably react violently, so we need to be aware of that. I would like to invite everyone involved in the world of horses to maintain a focus on safety, to keep up to date on new guidelines and parameters that must be continuously implemented. I invite them to stay updated, to study, and to train in this field. There is a 1993 British publication that talks about this in terms of animal welfare. Biosecurity doesn't just involve humans, but it also deals with risks to the horse. In encounters between men and horses, it's often the horse that runs the greater risks. Keeping up to date is a very good way to always be thinking about safety in the handling of horses.
In previous segments, we learned about some of the areas where special precautions must be taken and about biosecurity protocols for when we are in those areas. I would now like to introduce a horse groom that has been taking care of horses for over 30 years. Reynaldo de Jesus Belia has been taking care of horses for over 30 years. He is a groom that is truly passionate about his work.
I've taken care of animals for approximately 30 years. What I like the most about working with horses is taking care of them, feeding the animals, paying attention to their needs, making sure their stable bedding is in good shape, making sure they have food and water.
Mami, yo le limpio la canoa para echarle comidita nueva. Yo, esto ya le hace daño. Yo le boto.
After you feed the horse concentrate and he eats it, he will immediately look for water, which must be fresh and clean. They always need water because the feed makes them very thirsty, and if they don't get water, they can get colic. My main function is the feeding of the animals. For example, my daily routine is as follows. I start giving them breakfast at 4 o'clock in the morning, so that by 5 o'clock all of my animals have been fed. Then I go and cut the grass, so that by 6 o'clock or 6:30 in the morning, I can be available for when the veterinarians need help, either with an embryo transplant or with performing inseminations or things like that. I like to be available to help.
Para hacer examinaciones o algo así, estar ya pendiente y poderlos atender. El principal cuidado que yo tengo con el cuidado de los animales es que antes de yo echarles la comida.
Do to take care of the horses is that before I feed them, I clean out the troughs, making sure there are no leftovers or spoiled residue. Because if I serve their food on top of that, I will harm the animal. I could be making them sick. Or the animal won't eat the food because he can see that the food is contaminated. My routine is set, and so I already know what activities I need to perform tomorrow, so I know what to be on the lookout for, and I can manage my time. So if a veterinarian arrives, for example, I will be waiting for him to arrive, and I will be ready.
Pendiente de que él llegó. Hola, mami. Ya vine con comidita. Ven para allá. Ya. Mamachita. Fíjate.
I have a little mare that is very finicky about her food. When you feed her, she barely looks at her food, and that makes me nervous. I worry about the horse because she's rejecting her food. So then you have to analyze that if this type of feed didn't work, change it. Give her another food that she might like better, so the animal can improve and gain weight.
Para que el animal se mejore y se ponga en buenas carnes. Este es el bebé, ¿cierto? ¿Es el bebé o no? Ya le batemos comidita, Pérez. De cuenta de los caballos.
I have raised 2 children by working with horses. I have been working with horses for 30 years. I am a horse groom and I have 2 children. A girl whose name is Flavia and she's 24 years old. And I have a son who is 22 whose name is Gabriel. I raised them both thanks to my work with animals. They like animals too. And I also have a granddaughter that's 3 years old, and she loves to be at my side starting at 4:30 in the morning, helping to care for the animals. Even if she's in the way, she's with me. First of all, I want them to love this profession because it's a lot more than just being a caretaker and throwing food at the animals, but to give it to them and talk to them, be with them, and that is the best part. Maybe a horse is too fat. Well, I won't stop feeding him because of that. I will have to cut back his rations so that the horse won't get sick. Maybe this one is too skinny, and I have to see how I can make him gain weight to bring him up to par with the other horses. They like it when you talk to them, and they let you know with their ears that they're listening.
Reynaldo also told us about how he manages to work with very difficult horses.
After they bring him to me, I talk to them, I snap my fingers at them, I associate with them, and they start to respond and go their way.
Y ellos van respondiendo, ellos se van.
For example, they brought me the horse, a young buck wearing a halter. So I took it off, and the owner came to me and asked me why I had taken off the halter, knowing that it's there to be able to catch him. So I told him, no, you don't need it, I'll catch him. And I went in and caught him. In the course of a week, I began to see what his problems were. So I looked for him myself, and because of how I treat animals, he responded to me and he learned. The problem with him was bad handling. This is my passion. What I love the most is being with them every day. It makes me very happy to spend time with animals. I talk to them, I caress them, and give them attention. They are with me, and I am with them. When I arrive in the morning, I first talk to them, and I say, guys, I'm here. And they respond. If they're lying down, they get up immediately. They see that I'm bringing the food cart, and one starts to kick, and the other one jumps because their meal has arrived. I like seeing them like that. You have to treat animals well so they respond to you. If I mistreat an animal, he will remember, and from the moment he sees me, he will react badly.
On this program, we reviewed some biosecurity protocols that should be implemented to improve the animal's well-being and care, and as preventative measures that mitigate some of the risks that can exist inside a horse ranch. They help us greatly in the future if we put them into practice. We also learned about a horse groom that dedicates his life to horses. His life story and passion can teach us a great deal, both on a personal level as well as about how to deal with horses on a daily basis. I am Santiago Tobon, and until next time on Equine Code.